like a minute or so to get it connected. So if I start you guys too early, then we miss stuff. All right, we should be good to go.
Here we are. We're back from break. And, good morning, Ben.
Morning.
What you got going this week, today?
Well, there's a lot going, but
That's
what I have for you guys is still working on these special heavy-duty vehicle permits. Still working with Erickson's on getting the transformer moved to the railroad spur on the railroad tracks. We've got he calls it a gopher, figured out to get that up there. Today I've got another permit for them. This one's pretty simple, really. It's from State Road 8 on County Road 55, north approximately 2,400 feet to Bridge 23. They're gonna haul in that equipment to jump that bridge. So they're gonna come, they've got it permitted through the state. So this one's really relatively pretty simple. Not much to it. I just want to bring it before you guys and have you a motion to approve to let me sign this. So this one again's for Erickson's. You go on County Road 55 from State Road 8 north, approximately 2,400 feet.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
So seconded.
A motion and a second. Any additional comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Ben will sign.
Okay, thank you.
How many feet was that?
Approximately 2,400. The next thing I got for you, I've been working with John again on Erickson's for, they wanted to, when they moved this transformer from the substation to the railroad spur, they wanted to take the trucks up there to load up their equipment and haul it out. The problem I'm having is getting a route because they're low boy trailers and they're heavy. Some's 134,000, some's 130, some's 105, but they're all different lengths and axle spacings and axle weights. So some's got 5 axles, some's got 7, some's got 8. I'm not finding a real good route. So we're in discussions. He wants to run County Road 61, which is a good road other than the 2 bridges up to 40, 47 north to pick up and go back. Because I'm running the problem trying to find a way to get them out without bridges. And, you know, we got 28 there from 47, it will go over to 53, that there's none, but there's a small structure that's in bad shape. And then the intersection at 6, 53, and 28, that's all right there. And they're long enough, they're scared they can't make the curve, make the corner, and don't want to have an issue on the railroad tracks, which I understand. If they do come down 61, I'm going to have them 2 bridges engineered because our standing permit for County Road 61, their axle weights are higher than what's our permit's for. So therefore, I'm not going to approve it without being engineered. So that's why I wanted to ask you guys today, since we're working on this, and if you'd rather not, I want to make sure I'm covered on liability and you guys are too. If I can come up with a route for them, am I okay to sign and move? Or would you want me to bring each one back? If it has to go over a bridge, it will be engineered. I am not going to permit it over a bridge, these weights, without being engineered by USI. But it's either going to be, is what we're looking at doing also is the gopher, if he can drive that back to 55, he would have to cross the bridge with it, and this would have to go through engineering as well, because there would only be 10 axles on that bridge at one time out of 44. But there's still a lot of weight on that because each line is 10,000 pounds. So we're at 100,000 pounds. So that bridge would have to be analyzed as well. Even though that's dispersed out, I'm still going to have someone put an engineering stamp on it. I just am. So either way, if we go 61, or if they drive the gopher back, we're going to have some analyzing done by USI.
What's the weight limit on this bridge?
I don't know what it is on 55. It's 80,000 pounds.
80,000. The reason why I ask is,
But what it will hold, that's what I need them to.
would a semi be allowed on this bridge, a 75,000 pound semi? Well,
Numbers out of 80.
yeah, let me ask the dumb question. You know, we're worried, and I get why we're worried, but what happens if two semis are coming at the same time over a bridge? Isn't that about the same thing as this going across once? I mean,
Yeah, but it's gonna
160,000
be different.
pounds.
It's all gonna be spaced different.
Yeah, I
But the
know.
movement, yeah, there could be a concern there.
Except
But-
your force is going in opposite directions, so you don't have
I'm no
that
bridge engineer,
concentration.
Todd. I
Oh,
can't.
I'm no engineer by any means. I'm just looking at the total load and the total, there's force too on speed. I assume the faster you go, the more
More
energy there is. I just wondering, my opinion is use your do due diligence on it, and whatever's good, just do it. I mean, you're gonna get it engineered, that's great, and I don't think we need to approve later what Ben is a master road builder, get it done.
Well, I mean,
You know?
I always
So-
bring them to you guys, anything outside the ORM, just for
Yeah.
you guys are known and liability purposes, and I'm not gonna permit anything I'm not comfortable with.
Right.
I'm just trying to keep them moving. They wanted to move this week and, you know, and if anything goes before USI, Erickson's foots the bill on that. We
Right.
don't,
Yeah.
so
What's the time lapse to get USI up here to do that?
it depends how quick they want it, what they charge them for it. If they want it today, they pay a price for today. If they wait 2 weeks, they wait 2 weeks.
Okay.
Cause I just sent USI some for, AEP, or not AEP, well, they're working for them. It's, L.E. Myers Company. That was the question USI had. When do you need it? Cost is going to vary.
You need an emotion on that?
If you guys are okay with me doing that, otherwise I will wait until I get a designated route specifications and bring it back to you next week. That's your discretion.
I'd make a motion, we let Bill use his discernment on, or Ben use his discernment on the, if it needs engineered, let him do it, but pre-approve it.
A second?
I'll second that. I think Bill's pretty good at doing that.
Bill?
Bill,
Yeah.
I'll let him come sign them. I'll call you when they're ready.
Not me. We have a motion and a second. Are there any additional comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same, motion carries.
Okay, so just because, you know, I don't understand. The first motion was a different permit than what
Yes.
this
Yeah.
is. How, okay, how should I separate that?
Got a number?
You approved 3-2022 permit number.
Dash 20, okay. That works.
Hard code to figure out, 3-22.
The other one?
Third permit of this
And the
year.
other one is,
Do you already
County
have a
Road
number for the
55.
other one?
The other one, no, I do not.
but that's County Road
55.
55 and the State Road 8.
The 3-2022.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Is
Oh,
the County Road-
3-22 is that?
Yeah. Is the County Road 55 to State Road 8 north?
Yes.
Okay.
What's that?
Then, go ahead,
Alright.
I'm sorry.
What? Fine.
I've got another one here that this one I'm still in the stage of working on. This one's got, 149,000 pounds. And then plus they also have a mobile drill unit that's got, it's a rubber tire unit. It's a four-wheeled unit, 97,000 pounds. Yeah, I know, I'm a little concerned about that. Is what they are wanting to do, he sent me a map. This is for L.E. Myers Company. They are doing work for AEP. AEP is doing another transmission line from around Thermotrue and Butler, going north up through our county up towards County Road 4 and stopping, and then they're gonna go from County Road 4, then they're gonna go west, later date. But right now, they're going up north of Butler a ways. He sent me several routes. And this is where I got a bridge sent in to be analyzed. They want to run County Road 71 north of 6, 75 north of 6, 79 north of 6, 77 north of 16, and 16 between State Road 1 and County Road 79. And this will be mostly through the summer project. I asked for some specific dates. We have one bridge that we went through and changed the routes to get as less bridges as possible. So they've got one on 16 that will have to be crossed. That's our bridge number 65. And I've got several small structures I need to work on yet to verify. This one here I can bring back to you unless you confident with me moving forward. The only question I have for you guys, if you want to make it a stipulation, I'm kind of leaning towards it to have them bond this project for the duration. Because I've learned from in the past when AEP's been here, we have had road damage. It's always been Concosing in the past that's worked. This is a different company. They're probably fine. I'm not familiar with them. They seem decent. They told me their name. I didn't bring the card. I apologize for that. L.E. Myers seems really decent. It's just this smaller unit that they want to haul in and then mobilize around is what's kind of concerning me, running up and down our roads
That thing's 100,000 pounds, huh?
on four wheels.
That's 25,000 a wheel. That's,
That's a lot of weight.
Yes.
is that typical to require a bond for, I mean, is that customary?
Yes and no. I mean, it is depending on the size of load and the duration. Requesting a bond, I think, is typical, and some counties request a bond regardless, some don't. I think it's hard discretion. Jim can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's hard discretion due to the nature of the project and the duration that we can request it if they're wanting to utilize our roads.
If it's an ongoing thing, I think that's entirely reasonable.
I think that's a good idea.
Most of the time, companies don't want to ruin their name and will work with us, but, and they always have, but I'm just, I don't know, a little gun shy, I suppose.
I'd be good with that. Then handle it and probably, if you want to use your discernment whether or not it needs a bond, and have no problem with that.
I'd like to have you guys request that in a motion for
That's
them.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Do you want a motion for that, Bill?
Now, right now, I've got it written up for $1 million bond. I think that's sufficient, but if you guys wanted something different, that's open for discussion.
That'd be sufficient.
I would hope so.
Yeah, it's more than that.
They're only
Might be
covering,
sufficient today, I don't know about
Yeah.
next week.
they're only crossing one bridge, so,
Yeah. Well, $1 million each, I mean.
yeah.
The four-wheeled unit's still my only concern.
And
It's,
that's mine.
That's only a 13-foot wheelbase,
Yeah.
too. I mean, that's a concentrated load, dude.
especially if it's turning hard,
Yeah.
it's gonna do a lot of rolling on the road, I would think.
I got a couple other people I'm gonna kind of bounce that off of as well. Just, like I say, it's just so compact and there's so much weight there. Just,
It's a heavy unit, but I saw it has a 75-ton lifting capacity. That's amazing.
it is.
That's a real
Wow.
machine right there.
That's a big machine.
They're obviously lifting big towers with it or something.
Does have four-wheel steer,
Yeah, that helps.
helps.
Yeah, anyone that buys equipment without four-wheel steer, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like I say, I don't know, we've never really permitted anything like that on the road before. And we do have the right, I can request them that they'll have to load it and haul it each move, if we feel that's better. They don't have to drive it. We don't have to permit it that way. Not to say they won't do it anyway. I would hope not, but
I'd rather not do that to them I like to work with these folks and make their job efficient too. I mean, we got to protect our roads, obviously, but I think the bond cover that.
the bond's gonna hold them more accountable to being cautious, I
Oh,
believe.
yes, oh,
Because they don't,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. motion?
And make the motion, we allow Ben to write this permit, and if he thinks a bond is necessary, to do so.
Well, he wanted it contingent on the bond being required,
Oh,
I think, didn't you, Ben?
well, let me rephrase. I would require the $1 million bond as Ben has suggested.
And then for me to work with them on a route and,
Yes, you work on the road, you use your expertise, and I'm good with that.
Okay, that's it?
That's it.
Second.
A motion and a second. Are there any additional comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
thank you, that helped me keep moving along with them. This is kind of the same as happened in the past. They bid this project and come to the county and want to start and then permits.
Right.
You know, and these things, they obviously take time, so. I was gonna let you guys know, we did get a new dump truck last week. One finally did come in. So that's in the shop, getting equipped, radio and things in it, to get out on the road, so. We do have one, the other one's probably 60 days out yet,
It's probably what?
probably 60 days out yet. The same guy that built this one's building the next one.
Next one.
So it looks really good. Couple little minor things that will have to be corrected, but it looks good. So it makes me nervous moving forward. The price increases I'm hearing on the trucks and then the equipment. Sounds like it's gonna be, what are you telling me? Up to $60,000 more per truck.
These are under the old pricing, is that right?
Yeah.
Same as the other two.
For future planning, Ben, where are we at? So we have this other truck coming. Other than that, we have none ordered, right?
In order, this year was all equipment.
It's a big
Next-
equipment year.
Yep, that's what I try to do. I try to go from equipment to truck, equipment to truck. So we got enough trucks that we got to keep our rotation up, but I've got limited funds, and then unfortunately, a lot of our equipment's very old, and that's just as high dollar, so.
Yeah, we replaced
Hindsight,
some.
if I would've had my crystal ball and known the duration of these trucks being spread out from building and getting in, we could've bought a couple more at that bid price, and then would've had time to had the money set aside because of the duration of getting them in. Because if we order a truck now, we're roughly 2 years. So that is a discussion.
$60,000.
Yep, so looking at it, moving forward, it's gonna be, I guess I don't have the answer. My budget, you know, is up and down so much from what we get receipted in from the state anymore. From the COVID and then the people not traveling, the higher fuel prices, it seems that I've been going in the wrong direction with our funds the last couple of years, so. Of course, this is budget season. I'll be getting with Susan here soon, and I'll be able to see where our receipts are at total coming in. You know, we was hitting about, I had the girls check it, I think within the last month, we was increasing about 8% a month from where we was last year. But with the fuel prices going so high, I don't know if that's gonna change. Imagine people are gonna travel less. You know, I know I have. You know,
I know I am.
and that's going to affect our revenue as well. I mean,
Right.
less gas people buy, the less money goes in, the less it's distributed.
Right, exactly.
And locking in diesel for the next 12 months is going to be brutal.
You know, this year, our contract was $2.88 a gallon. So we're roughly 230,000 gallons for 80,000. We're going to be well over 400 for diesel fuel next year if we stay at the current price where we're at now.
Yeah.
Make our trucks and equipment last a little longer. I hate to say that, but, you know, if
You
we're
know,
out of
it's-
money, we're out of money.
The guys do a good job at it. I mean,
Yeah.
I got some that need to find new homes.
I know that.
You know, we've got a lot of old equipment, but we're working on it. So They are here applying calcium chloride. They started last week, hit it pretty hard. They're not here today. The driver's out sick. We did start, kind of started, got the chipper and distributor out and sprayed about a quarter of a half mile of road, make sure all of our equipment's working. The truck we was concerned about worked just fine, and our new chipper's down, so waiting on parts for that, it sounds like.
Really?
There's a big issue with the sending unit in the DEF tanks. That this has been an ongoing issue in several of the commercial vehicles. There's a sending unit and pump and things in the DEF tank that there's a, I remember what Dusty told me. There's a part in that that goes bad. And it's nationwide, it's not just us. The bad thing when that goes out, it derates that motor down where, when we drove it back last week, it only run 1,100 RPMs.
Limp home mode.
Yep. And the bad thing is, the last time we had one went out of our new truck, it was 6 weeks to get it. So I'm being optimistic that ain't what it is, or they'll get us something off of something else, because right now our chipper's down.
It's down.
Def delete kit sounds like a.
So Wednesday, Thursday, we'll know for sure. Dusty's got someone coming up to help diagnose before we order the parts on it.
6 weeks, seriously, huh?
We had two of our Cummins trucks earlier that was still under warranty, lost them. And we had to take them down to Selking. Basically, Selking would only order the part if the truck was sitting there, and the truck had come in on first come, first serve. So whenever you got your truck down there, that's the number that come in line. And so I had two trucks set down there for 5 and 6 weeks at a time. But they done me no good, because they was derated. You can't, I mean, they'll sit there and idle, that's about it. I don't know anything about deleting that or what's possible. I mean, you'd have to take a whole bunch off that.
It's not legal, I just.
It's not
making
legal,
Yeah,
right.
it's just so frustrating that they install kits like, or stuff like this. Those parts should be available all the time.
Right.
You know, that
Priority.
typical government program, here, install this crap, but don't require that you have the parts in stock so people can go.
It's kind of not starting off a very good
Okay.
year, because Pavement Solutions is down. They're doing our crack fill, and they haven't got that completed. They rolled their kettle over on State Road 8 last week.
Oh, jeez.
Spill.
That road over there just west of 1, where it gets real narrow there, there's something in that road. If you drive it in a truck, you can tell it, but the crown's different. I don't know what he did, but somehow he got that trailer off the edge of the road and it rolled the kettle over on its top.
Oh, no.
And then the other one, they've got some internal issues. Their other crack fill machine, they're unable to run it, the lack of staffing. Hopefully, some things will get resolved and get that coming back. And I've got all my stone down there. I'm ready to start sealing. If I can get oil from our company. And, I don't know. I'm gonna lose more hair from scratching.
Yeah.
Quit.
Let's move on with toning, and if we
Yep.
need to get back to you, anything else to clean up, Ben, we can come back. Tony, you want to come up and give us your 2 cents?
Come on up.
Well, it's not really 2 cents. We collected last week proposals for construction manager as agent services. We put together an RFP, sent it out to 5 firms. We got 3 quality respondents. Put together the RFP and asked them questions that I thought was relative to the project and to the goals of the county. And I read through them. I hope you guys had a chance to as well. And I think the decision is yours. There's 3. I was impressed by all 3 respondents. All 3 are proposing the use of a solid team. I didn't see. Well, a couple of things I look for in a proposal like this is who are the actual people doing the work. Every project is going to have a project executive and, the vice president, and all these people with 20, 30 years. But who are the guys in the field really doing, because that's really where the quality of the work comes from. And really, every team didn't have anybody with less than 12 or 15 years' experience in those important roles. So that was good. I like seeing that. Another question that I wanted to zoom in on their answer was is how they handle contingency. I felt like all three respondents answered that question perfectly, because in different delivery methods, the contingency is handled differently. And I felt like all three of them answered that question appropriately for this delivery method. So it's, I felt like from an experience standpoint, they all three had some really solid projects. There was a couple that had, I think one of them had more of a garage service bay project that was a little more relevant to this, but it was an older project and it was a renovation. So really, I don't think you can go wrong with any of these firms. And I don't think I'm in a position to say I think that you should not consider this one or this one was head and shoulders above the rest.
Okay. I see Tim is here. Tim, you want to make a comment or anything? Or?
Wait. Come up to the mic, please.
We're on candid camera. It picks you up off the mic.
Yeah, Tim Ellerding, FCI. Yeah, we just thank you for the opportunity to submit. One of the things I think we definitely stressed in our proposal is our ability to work through the entire process with you. You know, I know that you're looking at the various funding opportunities and things like that. I think that's a strength that we bring to the table, is being able to assist you in that process, whether it's through the CMA process or if you're looking at another process. You know, we're familiar with all those, and actually I'll be personally helping you, through some of those funding, opportunities, if that's what you need. If not, of course, we've proposed a process with our pre-construction director of pre-construction and our project manager and everything that, definitely will deliver. But I think it's just the flexibility that we offer and the ability to help you through this process to ultimately come up to what is going to be the best possible way to approach this project. But yeah, being a local company, we're really excited to work with you on this, and we, hopefully look forward to, assisting you in this process. So thanks, Bill, for letting me say something.
You're welcome. Thanks, Tim. Comments?
I need more time to read them all. I still want to think about the various processes, but
And I don't think we're at a stage where we can commit yet,
Right.
one way or another here. I think we're just too many unanswered questions at the moment.
We have some issues to iron out with council, I think, before we even make this decision.
Okay.
And I guess one question in my mind is a set fee based on percentage. Tim, I guess I'll ask you, is there a possibility the fee could be based on actual hours of work performed?
Yeah, we could also do another option would be a time and material, type approach where basically we would track our time and then simply bill you for that time. That was one option that we've considered. We addressed this based upon the RFP, but an easy process would be that, we could simply do just a fee base where we say, okay, here are the rates that we charge per hour for these various people. And we would simply, on a regular basis, more of a consulting type process, charge you simply for the time needed. So yes, that would very much be an option.
Okay.
Yeah. So whether it's in the pre-construction or in the construction side of things.
Okay.
But
All right.
this is somewhat typical, we see as far as how they've done this, as far as usually a set fee for pre-construction, then a percentage. But no, we've also done it where we simply, in fact, this morning I was writing a contract for something here in town where it's going to be basically they're paying us strictly for our time. Okay. So very easy to do.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks. Tony, can you give us a little insight into the process on the estimate numbers that you passed along, as how those are put together, and I guess what would your your thoughts be in terms of the accuracy of those? There's some question as to whether those are inflated in a CYA kind of,
Yeah. So we hire Martin Blundell and Associates. I think it's just Blundell and Associates. They're a professional cost estimating firm located in Fort Wayne, but they do estimating all over the country. And we, as architects, we don't do our own estimating. We always hire that out because they're professionals at it, and we believe in hiring experts in their fields to do the best work possible. They do cost estimating based on regional market conditions. And if this project was happening in upstate New York, they've got a multiplier that, they've got access to a database of information on, okay, if it's this much in Fort Wayne, Indiana, or Auburn, Indiana, how much more is it for someplace up in New York? So they can make those adjustments. Every once in a while, you get into a pocket of region where there's some nuances there that really have a big effect on cost one way or the other. I don't think that this is one of those regions. I mean, we're close enough to you've got some local contractors that can do this work. Plus, you've got some local. You've got Fort Wayne and some other cities that offer some nice contractors that can help support this project. I think that they typically want to be high. They want to be, I think they target to be about 2 or 3% high on bid day. If they're low, then you're disappointed on bid day. If they're way too high and the bids come in way too low, then you felt like you left something on the table from the project standpoint. So, yeah, they try to be right in there, just a touch on the high side. I think right now the construction market is such a volatile. If it's available, can you get the manpower? And if you got the manpower, what's the lead time on the stuff that there is some CYA stuff probably baked into that, but we want it to be baked in because we don't want to be surprised. So, yeah, it's a bit of a crystal ball stuff, just like, Ben said with, if you knew what you knew now, you probably would have ordered a more truck or two, right? But I don't know if that answers your question. It's a tough time to predict the costs. I believe there is a cost escalation percentage in there. In fact, we asked them to reduce it because we thought that I think they had 1 or 2 years of escalation in it. We thought that was a little bit much. We knew that this project was going to bid and be built. And there was something else we asked them to reduce, and I think that was a design contingency. We knew the project was far enough along that we knew what the county wanted. We knew the square footages. So we asked them to reduce that because we didn't. With those contingencies, when it comes to a design contingency, it's for instance, in this project, if we got through design development and you guys came back, the county came back and said, you know what, we need another bay on the truck storage thing for whatever reason. That's what that design contingency is there to absorb some of those unknown design changes. And we asked them to reduce that because you guys have known really what you want from day one, and you haven't waffled on that. So we asked them to reduce that to try to get that number a little closer to having less fluff in it.
So,
Go ahead.
no,
Finish your thought.
well, so they are probably going to be a little north,
A touch side,
but not
high.
not substantially
I don't
high in the sky,
Yeah.
out of whack.
That's my opinion. Now,
Okay.
once a construction manager is involved, they're going to do their own independent cost estimate
Yeah.
and substantiate it.
And this is a small facet of the project, but on the existing building, it will quote to replace the HVAC in that unit was 60,000, or the estimate. We don't change the ductwork. It's a 4-ton gas electric split system. The parts are 5,500 and the install's $2,000. So
Yeah.
now we're at $8,000 versus 60, and obviously the whole project isn't over it, but how did they come up with 60? Did they actually visit the site?
Well, I would wonder if that new mechanical system was there to service the new square footage that's going to be heated and cooled. The training building, the restrooms,
Say,
a little bit of a hallway.
and that was my point on putting that in the shop instead and just replacing the unit that's there. And if we have to put partitions in the building instead of walls or whatever for the office space, that's a big save. I mean, I like Bill had the idea that instead of 6 bays, 5 bays, right, Bill, in the shop, and put the training break room out there along with those restrooms.
That drop-down ceiling bay.
Yeah, and I just looked at that, and then the salt barn, and again, the public gets involved. And I had a gentleman that's pretty savvy in this. We've had emails back and forth, and he says there's no way in hell that salt barn's $500,000. It's not possible.
Yeah.
And so I talked to Brett Henderson. I didn't give him a number, but I just said, Brett, I want to know what your estimate is. I guess he's built some salt barns. It's nothing that we can take action on, but I just I'm trying to verify some of these prices.
Yeah.
One thing Brett said also, and maybe you could come in with some expertise here, explain buying the salt barn package from someone, which include the concrete and bunk mitts that get set in
Right,
place.
yeah.
And Brett, this is just him, and we're gonna challenge him on this, but he says it's no cheaper to do that than to pour the walls. I said, it's gotta be. I mean,
Yeah.
he says, no. He says, you're already putting a footer in, you're already putting a stub wall in underneath the, for that 8-inch floor. He says, I can take them walls up cheaper than doing the pilings and doing that, but here nor there, a lot of different people from a lot of different angles
Right.
putting pressure on us to make sure this is done efficiently.
Yeah.
Ultimately, though, we got to make a decision.
Right.
You know?
You're right, and it is buying a kit of parts from somebody that, does this every day, less expensive or more expensive than stick building it from scratch. And we've gotten the costs from the kit of parts folks.
Yeah.
And I'll double check with Ryan, but I'm pretty sure those have been baked into the cost estimate, so that's hiring a construction manager is going to help bring answers to those very good questions about that.
Well, and the problem I have with that is going forward is council has told us they won't appropriate 1 penny until they have exact numbers on everything and what they're going to get. Well, until you hire a construction manager, until you put proposals out, until you go through all this, you have really no clue. And that's why I kind of took a little step and said, hey, it's not an official quote, but tell me what you'd build this for, because they've built salt barns. And what's interesting, it appears that the state highway department, those are poured walls on that new one. Now, why did they go to poured walls? I don't know. It's just, I know it sounds like I'm trying to micromanage this, but I'm trying to get answers to the council
Yeah.
before we spend millions more
Yeah.
and say, well, I guess it didn't work, so, you
Well,
know.
and having an exact dollar amount to the that's not going to happen until you bid the project.
Right.
Well, and I don't, in fairness, I don't think that's what the council said. I think they want a proposal in front of them. This is what we want to do. Here's, this, and this. And, I mean, the bids are going to come in what they come in, and that'll determine the final financing. But I don't think they were asking for exact numbers.
Okay, well, and that's why I wanted to hit them with, here's the most we're gonna ask for, approve it or don't. Because we're wasting our time if we can't sit here and keep drawing stuff up and make changes and then find out, well, they're not gonna give you the money. So I want them just to commit to a dollar amount and then we'll pare it down if we have to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
We gotta wait,
we gotta wait, we'll wait,
we'll wait a bit.
much as I hate to.
We can buy some time. We don't have to do this, particularly at the end of 24.
And we can reject all bids, like you said, but I hate to hire a CM, the 15 grand's nothing in the grand scheme of things. I'm not worried about that, but hire you, get your hopes up, you're on the schedule, and then all of a sudden, hey, Todd, this is 10.7 million. Well, that ain't flying, so.
Well,
Any of your CMs are gonna do this. One of the very first things, put together preliminary looks at it. Any one of the 3 CMs, of course, I think one of them's better than the other 2, but any one of the 3 CMs.
Which one?
I don't know, here, can you get that on camera? Yeah, but, any one of those 3 are very good at what they do. And one of the very first things that they're gonna do is put together a preliminary price on basically the scope right now. That's gonna get you pretty close, quite honestly, because every one of us are pretty active in the marketplace. So I would feel very confident that that's construction manager is gonna be able to get you in the ballpark, if not even within the ball diamond itself. So, yeah, I think, quite honestly, I think hiring that CM sooner than later would be very wise. Quite honestly.
And I've got to just throw this in. I think that saying we can wait a while is just a futile suggestion. Things aren't, and we've got two people here that are very familiar with construction, and I'll ask Tony and Tim, do you see any scenario where construction costs are going to be less in a year or 2 years, or?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, I think that's just a pie in the sky. So if we're going to have to do it, the chances are we're going to spend more if we put it off. I think we need to get it done if we want to reduce the scope of the project some, trim a little bit here and there, but I think we need to build this project. You guys have been saying, we got to have this done. We need a new highway department. I agree with that. So I think talking about putting it off, let's just do it right and have, so we can move on. That's my.
I'm all for that. We just got to have council to say yes. And if they won't say yes to a number, then I don't know how we move forward.
Well, if we've got to put a proposal together that has at least a range attached to it. And then you can, they're either going to say thumbs up or thumbs down on that proposal, and then you start the negotiation process. But let's decide, let's look at the project, see if there's any places where we can trim something, redesign or whatever, adjust the numbers and go to council and say, okay, here's our proposal now. The ball's in your court, let's talk.
Well, I guess what it comes up to is we've already agreed that we could forego the cold storage for now to knock that down. We've talked about the idea of eliminating a bay and making that, save some money there. And then also doing the very minimal to the existing building to get it functional. So there we are. What does that cost? That's what council wants to hear. Is that your plan and is that your total? And
Or here's the range.
Or here's the range.
Yeah.
And then we present that and then I think we need to do that. We got to give them hard numbers.
Can we, if we tweak our design, we have to have some conversation about that, Tony, but, can we take the numbers that we've got and tweak those to reflect the changes?
Yeah,
So we've got somewhere to go with it?
Yeah, 100%. If you've got a number that we've got to be at, we'll design to that number.
Yeah.
Well, I don't necessarily say we have to do that. It just seems like if we don't put a cap on this thing, they don't know what I think we should put a hard cap on it regardless. Say, this is the most we're going to spend, authorize it. In other words, I do the same thing in my business. What's the most that this is going to cost? Well, a range is no good if if the range comes in at 6 million to 10 million, let's say.
Well,
come on, what is it?
Yeah.
Well, if it's 10 million, I think council and me are both going to say, this is crazy. Come on, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So, again,
I don't, if you, doing a not to exceed, I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that either. I'm just saying,
Sure.
let's put something together and move forward with this and.
so can we agree to remove the cold storage from now, reincorporate that design to 5 bays with the break room and the bathrooms out there, minimal change to the current building, which would be sprinkler systems, some partitions, HVAC replaced, some doors maybe, and 150,000, I don't know, and come up with something like that to get us by.
Let me get with Ben, and I'll bring you back some changes.
Yeah,
I'll bring you back some changes.
Ben's
You guys look at
some
them, Tony
input
look at them.
Oh, yeah, I want Ben's input, but I'm just saying, can we go that route at
Yeah,
least
we
so we
can
can
go
get some
that.
numbers?
Guys, I got,
That's where you start the conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know, if this is good or bad to look at it this way, but if you take these estimates and you take out the design contingency and you take out the construction cost escalation, $6,660,000.
Well, that's about where I want to be, is that 6 million number,
So the rest of that numbers is contingencies and escalation, so.
And that's where I came up with the 6 million, is we got to cut this, you know.
I think it's gonna come down to the design contingency they've got, and then the cost versus how aggressive people wanna be with it, material availability, and we may be better off to just move forward and bid it as is and see. I mean, if we cut out, we may not really need to.
I mean, we can bid buildings as alternates.
Yeah.
So on bid day, if we're over budget, you just don't do that building. But you know the real value of that building. It's not a cost estimate. On bid day, that's the real,
Yeah.
that's the real number.
Right.
But if the overall cost estimate, if that's not palatable to the council, we gotta know what it is, because we've got to design to a number.
Yeah. I know.
I mean, right now, we've designed to what we believe the county needs.
Well, I think what's going to be palatable to the council is depending on what we might propose in terms of financing. And of course, that's entirely up to them. But my sense with the council is trying to do it all with cash is going to be less palatable to them, given the public sentiment, than a bond would be.
Well, and I think that's the real problem that I'm backing up to. Now it's politics. It's about okay, we'll give you this money if you do this project over here for us. Well, we're the ones that are supposed to tell what projects need to be done. They're supposed to fund them if they want to.
Right.
So they didn't put hardly any input in on the jail. And I'm not knocking them here, but I'm just being honest.
They didn't show up.
They didn't show up. $40 million project, we basically don't care. They have not showed, Ben, has anyone from the council been down to the highway department to see your current conditions? Has anyone talked to you, come to say, hey, let's talk about the plans?
Not from the council, no.
That's what I'm saying. So we're either in control of building and they're in control of funding, or they can be the project, okay, let's do this project. We could all just go home and let them run the whole show, or we can do our jobs and say, here's what we're building, are you gonna fund it or not?
Yep.
That's what the real suggestion is. It's not, hey, we'll give you the money if you give us money for this over here, or if you guys decide to do this project also. Their job's to fund projects, our job's to build projects. So I think we need to start staying in our lane, and maybe that's what Rick and the council was saying. Hey, you guys don't talk at our meetings, we need to do our business. Okay, fine.
That's not what he said, though. That's not what he said. He wanted us to develop the funding.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's supposed to.
That's throw it on their plate.
That's our
Yeah.
job. We
So-
recommend what we thought was best.
No, I didn't get that out of it.
Oh, I did. Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is, I hate the idea that we gotta make a deal. We're supposed to design the direction for this county.
Yeah.
So if we design a direction, they say, well, we'll fund it if you do this too. Now they're designing the direction of the county.
Well, that's not what I was suggesting.
No, I'm just
Or
saying,
what, yeah, I didn't get that.
let's finance
from
this
them.
so we can do this project too, is what the council's saying.
That don't
Well,
make sense.
that don't make sense. You
makes
guys
sense.
stay in the banking, we'll stay in the building. So stay in
You
your
got
lane.
the
And
cash, you use the cash.
it takes the county attorney for the council to remind us all to stay in our lane. And, it's, and I don't want to be in their business either, but either we're controlling the direction or they are. I can stay home on Mondays if they want to run it all, that's fine. So,
So the cost estimate's been presented, has that been presented?
yeah.
Okay. And they said, no, we won't fund that, or?
No, they said,
No.
we don't have a proposal. And until we have a proposal for something concrete, there's nothing we can do.
Okay.
But we can't
Yeah,
give
we-
anything concrete till it's bid. Not in today's
No,
world.
Well, no.
They'll approve that number. If they approve that number, that's what we designed to.
Yeah, I mean, we can give them that number, but we can't, we can guarantee it.
They want a guarantee on it being a certain amount before they appropriate the money.
That's not what I got out of
That's what I-
what they're asking
They're
for.
wanting the full ARP proposal
in one,
in one lump suggestion.
Oh, they want the ARP proposal?
yes.
Okay,
That's-
but see, that's backwards. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
We have a county building that needs built. Do you want to fund it or not? If you don't, then use the ARP money for something else. Go ahead. But just tell us no. My proposal is let's build it with cash. We have cash. Cash is getting more valuable or less valuable as time goes, guys. If you had cash, Mr. Federer, would you build something with cash or would you go borrow it right now?
Right now,
Yeah, if you had the cash.
I have the cash. I'm looking at inflation and everything.
Right.
Inflation's eating up.
That changed just recently.
I understand, but I'm just saying,
But
Inflation is beating interest.
the council wants they're looking at two different things here. They want a proposal on the highway garage. This is what we want to build.
Okay.
This is the estimates. This isn't the bids, this is the estimates. Here's the drawings, here's the plans. This is our proposal of what we want to build. The other thing they said is we would prefer to approve the ARPA allocations in one complete plan, not piecemeal.
Here's something I haven't,
And Don Stuckey said there's no reason we can't do it piecemeal if we want to, too, so.
one thing I got a problem with though, we were told commissioners decide how this money is being spent. The money is put in the general fund and then we're being told, well, no, the council controls how it's. They're going to either okay it or not okay what we suggest. Well, that puts them in control. So what was the point of ever asking the commissioners to develop a plan for the ARP money?
that's my point.
Yeah,
Because that's the way that the ARP legislation was done. I mean, it's supposed to go to the commissioners. We were supposed to form a committee. We were supposed to come up with a plan. Council has always had to appropriate the money for whatever gets spent. So that's not
so
nothing
what
out of
was
the
the
ordinary.
point? What was the point of having a plan if they're going to have the ultimate control? And I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I've always just, in any business I've been in, the CEO presents something to the the board approves it. But now what we have is us as the CEOs per se presenting something, here's what we want to do. Well, we might do that if you do this, and we might do that. It just, like Mike said, we either work together and get this done or we don't.
Yeah.
And
Well, and
Here's what I'm thinking. We put some numbers together last week of what we've committed. We add in what we want for the highway, the 6 million, and then there's a 77,000 left or 700, what was it? Yeah, 777,000 left over. We submit that to the council next month, and there you are. That's what we go with. Agreed?
I have no problem with that.
well, you've got to submit the highway building plan proposal along with that.
We'll do
You
that.
know, I mean, there's two separate things, if that's how you want to design the.
I mean, that's what he's
I-
asked for.
I disagree with that allocation of the ARPA funds, but that's neither here nor there, and that's no new news
Well,
either.
we understand you
but-
disagree.
But you got to present both of them at the same time.
We'll do that.
I don't understand why the ARPA funds would have to be spent or decided on all at one time for this reason. We have till 2024 on that money, and a genuine need may come available, like, wow, this was an emergency, we need $500,000. Wouldn't it be nice to say, let's use it for that, you know, whatever's left over? But again, I just want to put out the fires we have with cash, and then, and I agree with Mike on having a 5, 10, 15, 20-year plan too. This is why we're in this position right now, is because, hey, you know what? The highway department's a piece of trash, has been for 30 years. We haven't put a dime in that thing. We've been living on the cheap, and that's what I try to put to the council. We've been living on the cheap. You look at highway departments in any other county,
Yeah.
they don't operate like us.
No, and it's
It's a shame.
It's disgraceful.
It's a disgrace. So
And-
let's get it done. Let's present to council, and if they say no, then we'll do whatever.
And you're right on two counts there. number one count is county government is so inefficient
It's horrible.
and poorly done. I mean, it is so outdated. Municipal governments are much more functional than county government. I mean, we're bordering on dysfunctional. And second thing is DeKalb County government has always been reactive. There has never been any planning, any proactive vision or anything else, or we wouldn't be in the position we're in now if we had that.
Well, I might make I might make the point, allowing the council to decide what to build. I think community corrections is a good example of why the commissioners need to be held solely for what's built, and they should be the ones to make the action, because,
Well, there's no argument with
but that was an effort between pressure from council to help build that versus the jail. And the study said to build the jail. The council and the commissioners got their heads together and says, let's build this instead because it makes more political sense for us. Well, let's be honest. Is politically advantageous to build an $8 million building with no referendum than to have to take some referendum that would probably get beat, which I agree.
Yeah.
But when that jail lit tax came available, they still should have built that with property tax, leaving that jail lit open. So bad decisions were made because people didn't stay in their lane. Commissioners didn't do their job and council didn't do their job. I fear we're going down the same path with this highway department.
Well, and I absolutely agree. I think we should present a proposal. This is what we want to build for the highway department. And it's their job to decide how it's going to get funded. And if you don't like the way they fund it, then,
That's a good point too.
I mean.
I'm here griping about them getting my business, but maybe I shouldn't be in theirs. Maybe we,
No, if they decide a bot is a better way to go, or if they decide to cash, or whatever they decide, it's up to them to
That's
approve the funding.
that's a discussion to have, but, and maybe that's just it. Maybe I should just say, hey,
If we present a project and they say, okay, here's the money, regardless of where that money comes from, let's build the damn highway garage.
yeah, I'm not opposed to that. I just want everyone to realize who makes what decisions and who decides how to fund it. If that's gonna be the thing, and am I gonna throw this out here and that project ends up being 8 million and I don't want it to be, but they wanna fund it, I guess we do it.
This isn't going to be one of these cases where the council bails out and says, well, it wasn't our idea.
Yeah, it wasn't our idea.
Yeah, it wasn't our idea
Yeah.
to go in debt for this highway department.
For the
We had
record-
cash laying in the bank,
Yeah, it's her.
cash laying in the
Talking about
bank.
my wife.
That cash laying in the bank don't do us much good.
Your secret is safe.
That's their purview on the financing.
Sure.
Just like the.
Let them take the responsibility.
As long as they
And
have
when
the-
when it's done, if it's not right, let them take the responsibility. Not like community corrections when they pass it off to somebody else.
Well, with that said, I still say it's the commissioners that are responsible for this crap building that we have. Someone should have been out there watching what's happening. I shouldn't have had to been up in the attic figuring out why lights weren't properly installed when we were told they were.
That was a whole series of things, from hiring a contractor who didn't have the chops,
Right?
to nobody watching the store while it was being built, to any number of things there.
Well-
And we're not going to make those same mistakes. We are all are in agreement on that.
Well, again, and back to Dan Gokenauer, he says, well, hey, whoever is in charge of that building should have been in the design process, signed off by, and I told Dan what a mistake that actually was to let, I'm not knocking Kelly here, she
No, but
ran
well,
the department fine.
To put that on her.
She
when
had no
has
clue what to design.
No.
She had no clue about construction.
No, that was just absolutely unfair to put that kind of pressure on her.
Yeah, so, but we better do this right, and maybe we should just stay in our lane and say, here's the project, fund it the way you want. But you know what? I'm going on record to say build it with cash, because cash is king right now, and we don't know what the future brings, and debt's not gonna be good here in another 2 years.
Yeah.
I
Gonna be a
agree.
lot of sheriff sales in 2
I
years,
agree.
trust me.
That cash is just melting away, sitting there in the bank. It's just evaporating.
Yeah. Anyway, there you are.
Anything else? Anyone? We're going to close this up here. Mike,
I was going to add one thing to your discussion. You keep talking about, the need to come to the council with a proposal. That is really what your team of Ben, Elevatus, and your CM is going to do. I'm going to give it a quick example of what I mean. And this is actually a project that we worked with Elevatus on a couple years ago, a project that never came to fruition, but it really is a great example of what happened is that we were going back and forth with Elevatus on a design, and it was in a church down in Bluffton. And they had a certain design. We came back, there was a conventional steel design. We came back with a pre-engineered metal design in this case, and actually knocked the cost of the steel down about a third. Just with having those kind of communications, it was a wonderful, wonderful example of how the architect, meaning Elevatus, and the CM, and in this case it was us, worked together to ultimately come up with a solution to what was needed. So what I would caution you is start cutting now. I think that's going to be a reactionary process right now to say, let's knock it down to 5 bays or let's do this. In the back of my mind, I'm already thinking of some options that I think we would probably, have a really good discussion with Elevatus that could still deliver this project, for that budget that you want. And the other thing is the CM is very, very responsible for that price. When we give you that price as a CM, it is a number that we stick to. So, and we've done this enough, and the other two are just as experienced. When we give you a number, I'd feel very confident about that. But having that CM on board earlier than later, I think is extremely important for you folks in trying to come up with this proposal for the council and coming up with a solution of ultimately that satisfies the need of your county highway department. So, that probably sounds a little bit like a sales pitch, and I don't mean it that way, but I wanted to use that example where us and Elevatus are working together on a project that it really was a great communication from day one. And we came up with some really nice solutions for that customer that were much less expensive than some of the original numbers. So,
Well, just so you know, it's not just cost on this project I was trying to cut. It was whether or not we needed bathrooms in that building for that, and the break room there, when it might be better out in the shop, and do we really need 6 bays? Yeah, you can always use 15 or 20 bays. Like in my shop, we work on 20, 25 cars a day, and we do it out of 4.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have heavy trucks sitting there that needs an axle that's 2 weeks out, but one of the suggestions I would make to Ben, hey, could we get by without a bay less? And we know if a truck has to sit, wait for parts, if it's movable at least, could it sit in the warm storage and wait for that part instead of sitting in a stall?
and the programming is a great part of that whole process, is sitting down. Your team is actually 3 different entities. I mean, it is Ben, it's Elevatus, it's your CM. And sitting down at the same table, having that discussion on a regular basis. And so very important 3-way, it's a stool with 3 legs, using the old, the old story. So, but yeah, the reason I offered that is I would recommend that you don't start cutting right now. I would recommend that you get that CM on board right now and have those discussions and come up with a solid proposal. And
I think that's
what, yeah.
I think that's what it's going to take. Tim, stay up there a minute.
Sorry, Mike.
Let me just ask you this, because I
Please.
know FCI works both sides of this thing. So, I'm just asking for some verification.
Yes.
So if you bid a design bid build, you have supervision and those kind of costs figured in
Yes.
to that. So if you bid that and there's a CM involved, maybe from another firm, do those costs come out of your bid then, if you bid it as a general?
If we bid it as maybe let me try to answer your question in telling you how we approach this project, and then I'll sort of answer your question. We approach this project in that we would have a full-time superintendent on site. Whenever construction is taking place at any point, we have a full-time superintendent on site, as well as a project manager. Now, that project manager is not full-time. That project manager is allocated to various projects. Now, in a design, bid, build situation, that is a little different. Traditionally, if you go design, bid, build, you're not going to have you're not going to have a CM on the site.
Right.
In this case, you've gone with a CM type situation where we have proposed to have a superintendent on site. Now, quite honestly, I think that is worthy of a discussion. If we were to be selected, you're really selecting your CM in a 2-phased approach. One is for pre-construction, and then if you decide to move the project forward, then you move it into construction. You've asked us, the way your CM contract is situated, it is actually a two-pronged approach. So you've asked us for a fee to get you through pre-construction, and then a fee if we would be selected as a construction manager. Now, it may not be the process that we have proposed. We proposed a full-time superintendent because we are very, very set on making sure that we don't have just some junior junior engineer sitting out on the job site trailer, not knowing what the heck they're doing. And I've been in CM situations like that, where you've just got somebody out there that's, playing cards, and we're not going to do that. We're going to make sure that we're managing that process in our case. But that can be a negotiable point, because if you're paying your architect for project inspection, we're not going to duplicate our services. So that's part of that discussion, Mike, is that, depending on how you would move forward, how we would structure that.
Can I ask the question?
Yeah, please do, because I think you know where I was getting.
Is delivering a project as design bid build versus construction manager, is there one delivery approach excluding pre-construction services that is more cost to the county than the other?
I think in this situation, to answer your question, it is situation dependent to a certain extent. I think in this situation, I think the CM is a good way to go for a couple reasons. I think if we're looking at lead time issues, the CM approach, I think, allows you to pre-order, to set up some early bid packages. Let's say, for instance, if, and I'm saying if, that large building is a pre-engineered metal building, we really probably need to get that ordered at a certain point in time so it's ready to go. Because right now you're looking at 30-week lead times for pre-engineered metal buildings. Now, I say if, because that's one of those discussions I think we could have with Elevatus, whether it truly needs to be pre-engineered or not. Now, hopefully Nucor is now going to read the story and give me a call and say, why are you selling down Nucor? But anyway, I don't mean it that way. So,
Andy's sleeping, don't worry.
Okay, thanks, man. I appreciate that, yeah, that's true, yeah. But in this case, I think there are those type of benefits as far as getting things ordered early. The second is that I do really think that we're going to be able to structure this to where we have a lot of smaller contracts where we're using the Hendersons of the world or whoever they may be and using their services. And I think if we can situate this project in a series of packages that gives you the best possible price, I think the CM approach that you're selecting for this case is the best option. Also, if we start looking at, changing things, after bid day is there, I think that gives you some other, efficiency. So in this case, I do think the CM approach is the right way to go. Now, having said that, design bid build, the traditional is always is the traditional way. I think, though, there is a lot of CYAs going to be built into that right now, especially if we're looking at construction next year. I think the CM approach allows us to stagger that a little bit. But right now contractors are bidding, or we're seeing pricing out there right now of I don't want to do it pricing, simply because your contractors are so busy right now. So I think the CM approach, it allows us to, structure it from a scheduling standpoint, from a bid distribution standpoint. I think that in this case, I think it's probably your best option. Plus, it gets us on board, or whoever that CM is on board early, so we can sit down and start coming up with the actual package, whatever that might be. So that was probably that sounded like a politician answering the question, but I tend to do that. Since I am,
it was a little bit because the county understands the benefit of CM. In fact, that's why we've made that change late, specifically so we can ensure that local contractors have a good, fair shot. Mm-hmm. And one way to do that is to make sure that the bid packages are tailored for those local folks. The question came up, are we going to pay more for construction manager as agent versus general contractor? And my answer was, you pay a construction manager to manage the project. They have the general conditions in their contract. There's and labor to be on site all the time. You're paying a general contractor those same dollars if you go design bid build.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, that superintendent is going to be there, whether it's under our jurisdiction or whether it's under a GC. Yeah, if you were gonna go design, bid, build, yeah, you're still gonna have the full-time superintendent there. But I have been in CM situations where they don't have the full-time superintendent. And it's been problematic.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah,
recommend it at all.
Thanks for
so,
putting that a little more clearly than what I did. I appreciate that, Tony.
yeah,
Okay,
for allowing me to be here.
Thanks, Tim.
thank you. Anything else on this subject?
What is the next steps for, as far as the design team goes, I mean, we're going to keep moving forward.
Yeah, I want to get with Ben and see about any tweaks we might want to make in the design, and then,
Six-bay shop.
and then get back with you probably if there is going to be any. I can't see tying you up unless we decide to make some changes.
Okay.
And I get with Ben and we'll go over this a little bit and see what, if there is anything that we want to change or can change. And then if there is, like I say, we'll get back to you. Otherwise, we just,
Yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, I think through the design process, you've kept the fat trimmed out of it.
But yeah, I don't know.
what?
I said, through the design process, between you and Ben, you've kept
It's picking you guys up.
Sorry.
you guys have kept the fat trimmed out of the project. So, I guess what I'm saying is I don't think that there's any fat to trim. At this point, you probably trim the scope.
Yeah, we'll have that
I
conversation.
guess,
and-
yeah, it's an odd way of complimenting the two of you on how you've kept the project as cost conscious as you can. I feel like you've already, you've done that, but.
Maybe we could put blue tarps on the roofs instead of metal or something.
Still be better than what we have.
It's a new tarp, at least it won't leak for a while.
Yeah.
Be no mold under that tarp.
Do you have anything else you need to wrap up, Ben?
No, I got 11:30 I gotta get, so
Okay.
I got all my business covered though.
You're almost late. Thanks, Ben.
All right, thanks, Tony.
Ben?
Thank you,
I don't
Tony.
need to hear right away on that, but when you get
Is there,
time.
so I'm gonna call all three of these, probably don't have to call Tim here at first hand.
We'll make well, what's the timeline making this decision? You think next week, or do you need to wait till we get a little more info on, from like Henderson?
I'm kind of rethinking my strategy of presenting a range to the council and saying, here it is, fund it how you want. But again, my 2 cents is, I think you should pay cash, but there's my opinion and I'm gonna walk away.
And I think legally, stay on our own lane, that's what we got to do.
That's,
We ought to be able to figure this out by next week, don't you think?
Next
I think we ought to be able to figure out this part by next week.
week,
I mean, we're all kind of,
you think,
my sense is we're all leaning one way or the other here.
I need to think about it, but I'll be in contact with both of
Okay,
you.
okay.
I don't want to make any decision emotionally right now and
Yeah.
I want to think. about it.
And just to be clear, the way the RFP was written and the way the proposals have been submitted, you're not committed, if you select a construction manager, you're not on the hook for their full fee. It's
No,
just
just the
pre-
15
the
grand.
pre-construction services there, so if that eases decision making.
Yeah, and I did figure that as a benefit of the CMA process was for 15 grand, you're buying a lot of input and a lot of knowledge and a lot of, hey, I think that can be done for that, but versus, wasting everyone's time running it to bid and then finding out we're not even close, so.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone? Last chance? Going once, going twice? We are adjourned.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, you bet. Okay.
You got a phone number? Yeah. I'd like to call you a little later, yeah. I'm sure it was in your packet, but thank you, sir.
Tim, good to see, always good to see you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Nice seeing you.
Seeing you.
Yeah, Jim.
Take care.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.